Vinyl Ventures crew, welcome to another edition. We have a spectacular show coming your way.
Now, we just lost a legend of rock and roll royalty, really, Ozzy, and we thought we'd do a show dedicated to his career, both in Sabbath, his solo career, and the career of craziness that he
Yes.
that he led. But first, we want to remind you guys to go to our socials, do all of the things, subscribe, like, comment, share, but also go to our Fourth Wall page because that's like our new home away from YouTube home. And on top of that, we are now an Amazon affiliate. So any albums that are available on Amazon, we're going to start putting in the description. If you guys go to those links, purchase those things from Amazon, we get a little kickback from them.
Which helps us do more shows.
Yeah, and you can also, on Fourth Wall, you can also join for free, or you can join at different financial levels and get, exclusive merch and behind-the-scenes stuff. So, Ozzy, I'm interested in talking to you about Ozzy. You're a few years older than me, so from my perspective as a kid, all the crazy stuff, it was scary as a kid. Like just his reputation was kind of scary.
Yes.
And so, as someone who was a little bit older and aware of that stuff, what was it like?
Well, and I have to admit, I wasn't, at the time, I wasn't a big Ozzy fan.
Mm-hmm.
I knew his music.
Yeah.
I like some of it.
Yeah.
But, not being a big fan, I'm like, oh, that's cool. But I know a lot of people I went to high school with saw Ozzy multiple times.
Yeah. I just remember Ozzy as more of a character.
Yeah. He was a little bit, he was a little bit like, if I'm finding somebody to kind of say he was like, a little bit like Alice Cooper.
A little bit.
Where he had this on-stage persona that was larger than life.
Yeah.
And he did wacky things.
Yeah. And sometimes the personal or offstage life kind of got more attention than the other stuff. But I mean, you have to admit, for a guy who was in a band like Sabbath, I think made 8 albums with them, and then left. And he was basically fired from the band for being an alcoholic and a drug addict.
Yeah.
Most people probably wrote him off as, Ozzy's going to have a solo career. But look what's happened. I mean, Ozzy's solo career has basically kind of usurped, Black Sabbath. And the funny thing is, not only, the Back to the Beginning show from 3 weeks ago that Sabbath did with Ozzy, originally when that was announced, it basically came about because Ozzy was upset that Bill Ward wasn't a part of the last Black Sabbath tour. And they always wanted to do one final show, one final performance with Bill Ward, with the original 4 guys. And if you notice over time, that show became less about Black Sabbath, it seemed, and more about Ozzy taking a final bow, which it was both.
Yes.
But in its, in them creating the idea for the show and putting it forward, it was a Black Sabbath thing. So I think that's an interesting development too. But just for a guy to have a going away party like that, for a band like Sabbath to have like a final performance, it couldn't have been better.
Yeah, and then for him to check out less than a week later.
Well, it was 2 weeks.
2 weeks, yeah.
Just crazy timing.
Mind-blowing, actually.
And appropriate.
Yeah.
We can't do an Ozzy show without...
And not talk about Sabbath. This is a collection, and I think it's a collection of the first 4 Sabbath albums. Mm-hmm. We sold our souls for rock and roll.
Yeah.
And for me, it was a good introduction to Sabbath. Yeah. And now I want all those early Sabbath albums.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a good one. The crazy thing when you dig into Sabbath's stuff is the guy that wrote those riffs is Tony Iommi, and there are so many like that we all know. You may not be a musician, you may not play guitar, but you can hum those riffs.
Yeah.
And those things are what really drill into your brain and you just can't get out. Let me grab my Sabbath. I think this is the first repress of the original Sabbath record. I got this at a show like 10 years ago. And everything about this is spooky.
Yeah, the cover is so spooky.
Yeah, the woman on it, just the way that the trees and the surroundings look. I mean, it is spooky. And I guess this is like 2 hours outside of London. And it's a place, I guess, that they do tours that you can pay and go see it. And it basically remains like this, which would be kind of cool to see. Like I said, I think that this, I was looking through the matrix numbers on this yesterday, but if you look, this has that folded over thing. And so I think it might be a European press.
Could be.
But I need to dig in. But that's the first one. I brought a recent repress of it. I think this is a Sanctuary Records like BMG repress, because different companies can license albums to repress them, and so I got this, I don't know, a year or two ago, and so you kind of have the the upside down cross there with all the stuff in it. But I really wanted to bring this to show you guys. The record because it's got that cool black and purple swirl.
Yeah, that's a good color disc.
Yeah, I mean it doesn't sound the greatest, and Warner Rhino has re-released the Rhino High Fidelity. They've re-released this on that, which they have a numbered version and an unnumbered version for people that want to get it. That's apparently a fantastic pressing, almost like Rhino's version of Mo-Fi.
Yeah, Rhino has really good pressings.
Yeah, and they know how to package stuff and put things together. But I wanted to bring that and show it to you because when, I didn't need this, but man, the way that I've become a sucker for colored vinyl is pretty crazy. And I'll just sit this in the gatefold here. Originally, not a gatefold, but this repress, a gatefold, which is of course
approved.
Jay approved. I literally just bought this and got it like 3 weeks ago. Haven't even cracked it open. It's like a deluxe 180 gram version of Paranoid, and I've always loved the cover of this. It's just got the guy with the helmet,
so trippy,
and a sword, and then there he is on the back. But this is kind of War Pigs, Paranoid, Planet Caravan, Iron Man, Electric Funeral, Hand of Doom, Rat Salad, Fairies Wear Boots. I mean, this is a killer record, and I love the fact that the hype sticker is square as well. So that's Paranoid. Then we've got Volume 4, which I always love the cover of this with Ozzy in his classic pose there. And then, but on here you got Wheels of Confusion, Tomorrow's Dream, Changes, FX, Supernaut, Snowblind, Cornucopia, Laguna Sunrise, St. Vitus's Dance, Under the Sun. Just another really, really great record. And man, it evokes a mood and a feeling.
Yeah.
For sure. And then the last one that I have is maybe my favorite Sabbath record. It's Master of Reality.
Another gatefold.
Yeah, another
reissue.
gatefold. Let's open, if you grab that. Love the way see another kind of like grainy, spooky portrait.
Maybe in the same area, just a different
angle.
Yeah.
But Master of Reality, man, you've got Sweet Leaf, After Forever, Embryo, Children of the Grave, which I think is my favorite Sabbath song. Orchid, Lord of This World, Solitude, and Into the Void. You can't go wrong digging into this Sabbath stuff. I mean, how many groups of guys can say that they created a genre of music, right? I mean, it's
few and far between.
yeah. And I think that not only is Sabbath kind of, obviously with all the hullabaloo and then Ozzy passing, maybe not, but I still think for years, forever, Sabbath has kind of been underappreciated.
Yes, without a doubt.
But when you look back on them with that hindsight and think about in the late 60s, you know, people were talking about peace and love and
This was totally different.
and you've got this music that is so dark and kind of unknown and aggressive, like music never had been, recorded music at least, popular music. They really were a groundbreaking group of guys. And the fact, I mean, we just lost Ozzy, which hurts and feels awful, but we had those four guys just less than a month ago. Those four guys played on a stage together for their last time. And that's a pretty coul
Yeah, that's a pretty cool way to go out.
Yeah, and you gotta wonder if Ozzy knew, but whether or not he did, you know, I know that the real driving force behind that last show was that Ozzy wanted the original band back together.
Yeah.
Because they weren't on the farewell tour. They did a live stream
Yeah.
of the show, which I couldn't commit to like 10 hours
That's a long time.
for
Yeah.
a concert. I'd like to see it. I'd like to watch it, you know, at my own pace.
It's funny that Sabbath was known as the Polka Tulk Blues Band and
I remember you saying that at some
and
point.
Earth
Earth. That's
before
right.
they were Black Sabbath.
Yeah. Yeah. Polka Tulk Blues Band.
Yeah. So that kind of tells you they thought of themselves as a blues band that just became this metal band.
Yeah. I mean, really, rhythm and blues has informed every type of music that
Right.
every type of popular music, not classical. But you think of country, R&B, rock, obviously comes from it, and then from that, all of the twigs on the tree in the rock area. But rhythm and blues, or blues, was kind of the basis for most of the stuff that we know and love today. Sometimes it's hard to call back to that, but yeah. So, you know, just another blues band from Birmingham, England, Black Sabbath. My first exposure to Ozzy was actually his first solo record. So we'll take a look at that.
I'll remove this.
I brought the picture disc version that I have. This came up available on one of my vinyl groups, and I'm like, I'm not really a picture disc guy, but it was so cheap. I'm like, okay.
It was like $12 because I had a copy and I sold it.
Yeah, and it's actually gone up in value. You know, another thing real quickly about Ozzy and his stuff. Even before the Back to the I think it was leading up to the Back to the Beginning thing, Ozzy and Black Sabbath's names were in the news so much, and I was looking at the stuff I had from Sabbath and his solo career. I'm like, man, I really need Bark at the Moon, and there's a few other Ozzy records that I need. The funny thing is, they aren't really readily available.
No.
Pointing out Amazon, there's a lot of stuff that he did that Amazon hasn't had available or in stock for a long time, at least not by itself.
Yeah, I think that'll change now.
I'm sure, but it's
Yeah.
just crazy to me that leading up to a big show like that with such a huge international superstar, and that's really what he became,
Yeah.
that the catalog that Epic Records, Sony, Columbia wouldn't have had more of that stuff like available to people since he was in news stories and all over the place.
One thing I think it is important to mention, I think Ozzy became such a household name because of the reality show.
Oh yeah. I mean,
It was that took him to another level.
Oh, for sure. And let's not discount the fact that, as Ozzy was written off for a solo career, he and Sharon, they didn't find Randy Rhoads. I mean, Randy Rhoads is a mythical figure as well. They didn't find Randy Rhoads. It was actually a guy named Dana Strum, who was the bassist for Slaughter, that was friends with Randy Rhoads, that introduced Sharon and Ozzy to Randy. Now, at the time Ozzy brought Randy in, Randy was busy with Quiet Riot, the early years of Quiet Riot. And they could never get over the hump in the U.S. Now, they released 2 albums in Japan, but never got over the hump in the U.S. So Randy, once Dana hooked him up with Sharon and Ozzy, took the job with Ozzy. Obviously, Rudy Sarzo, who in episode 15, you should go to that Vinyl Ventures episode because we had like an hour and 40-minute discussion with Rudy Sarzo. And if you want to hear any of this Ozzy stuff, firsthand, check out that show. It's audio only, but we're going to work on getting that
because
put together.
In that show, you learn a lot about how influential Sharon was.
Yeah.
In Ozzy's solo career.
Yeah. Sharon's dad was Don Arden, who was a huge manager. And Sharon, I think Ozzy was originally managed by Don, and then he gave the reins over to Sharon to manage Ozzy. And then they became involved, and, history was made. But yes, let's not discount the unbelievable guitarists that Ozzy has brought to the fore, brought into the rock universe and given to the rest of us. But yeah, this was the first record. And another funny thing about this album, it's called Blizzard of Oz. It's Ozzy Osbourne, Blizzard of Oz. But if you listen to that Rudy episode, he talks about the fact that the band was originally supposed to be called Blizzard of Oz.
Yeah.
And, the other guys in the band were chagrined to find out that it was Ozzy Osbourne and the album was going to be called Blizzard of Oz. But the picture disc on this is cool. The cover's always been, creepy. Let me just read. I Don't Know, Crazy Train, Goodbye to Romance, D, Suicide Solution, Mr. Crowley, No Bone Movies, Revelation, Mother Earth, and Steal Away the Night. And here's a great picture of the guys performing here, too. But this album, beyond everything that people suspected, became a hit.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you went through the songs.
Yeah.
They're well-known songs.
Yeah. I mean, they're staples of his live performance now. So what an introduction to the world this was. And against all odds, he became a superstar. So this is my introduction to him. And then as I got older, I, kind of stepped backwards to Sabbath. And Sabbath is such a crazy band because, I mean, there were other bands that were heavy at the time, but I don't think any band encapsulated like that heaviness and those dark themes and put them to music the way Sabbath did. And then the other thing that's crazy about Sabbath is everything is so dark and kind of doomy. And then you have this unbelievable voice that Ozzy has. So I think the collision of those two things are really what make Sabbath what it is, what it always tried to be after Ozzy was gone. I love the Dio years of Sabbath too. I'm not gonna forget to mention those because he was another one that just kind of breathed, obviously, new life into a band and filled some pretty big shoes. But Blizzard of Oz is our introduction to him.
Right now, I only have like the hits.
Oh, okay. You've got Memoirs.
Yeah.
Which is another great one.
Which, I mean, if you're not into Ozzy,
Yeah.
this is a great introduction.
Yeah.
Because it's a double LP gatefold, so it's J approved.
Yeah, it is J approved. This is great. There's nothing, I mean, a lot of times people will kind of shit on greatest hits collections. We've done a greatest hits show, and we'll probably do another one because with a band or an artist who has an expansive catalog, sometimes you just want to put those hits on. Sometimes, the album cuts on records are something that I always love and sometimes love more than the hits. But sometimes you just want to throw the hits on.
You just want to.
This is cool. I love the packaging.
It's beautiful packaging.
Yeah, let's open. I think we. Oh, there he is.
Yeah,
that's cool. Yeah, a lot of interesting iconography between Sabbath and Ozzy too. Because the funny thing is, everybody thought they were devil worshippers, but every one of them had crucifixes on, and it just an odd. And I'm sure there was some calculation.
Oh yeah,
to that.
They knew what was going on.
But the image was almost as moving, like from the Sabbath era into Ozzy's solo era. The image was almost as big as the music.
Because really, I mean, after Ozzy, Sabbath was kind of, I'm not going to say treading water, but they were trying to find where they fit in everything.
Yeah. And it's interesting. I think it was on that last tour with Ozzy that Van Halen opened up for Sabbath. So that was Van Halen's first national tour, and then kind of the end of the original Sabbath. If you can imagine going to a show and
seeing those two bands,
seeing Eddie Van Halen come out and rip your face off, and then seeing Sabbath, who, by their own admission, were all kind of really into the booze and the drugs and stuff at the time, and not giving their best performances. So, this is a great collection. I have some other Ozzy stuff to share. Here's I didn't pre-decondom these, but this is Blizzard of Oz, and I always loved the cat here. There's cats there, and he's got the big crucifix there, and it's
a great cover.
Yeah, it is. And then you got Randy, Ozzy, Rudy, Tommy Aldridge. Let's also, while we're talking about Ozzy's solo career, let's also not forget to mention the two original musicians that played on this. You've got Lee Kerslake on drums and Bob Daisley on bass, who Bob basically wrote every lyric for almost starting Ozzy's solo career through No More Tears, I think. I don't think he wrote everything on Ultimate Sin either, but Bob Daisley, bass, wrote the lyrics. Lee Kerslake, great drummer, awesome drummer. He didn't tour with him. Tommy Aldridge is the one that toured. But that's another kind of thing in this Ozzy universe that kind of gets overlooked is he had a lot of help.
Yeah. He had a lot of help
from musicians. He was always known as a melodic genius, could find a melody in something, but wasn't really your typical songwriter. So in Sabbath, Geezer Butler, who was the bassist, wrote all the lyrics, and Ozzy, came up with melodies and stuff. And of course, Iommi wrote the riffs. But we also don't want to forget to mention those other musicians that have kind of been ignored through the years. But yeah, Blizzard of Oz, great record, unbelievable introduction of not just Ozzy as a solo artist, but of Randy Rhoads. Showed so much promise, so much in the world of rock and roll. He became a guitar hero overnight. So very very important record, and really with what he had to go up against, you wouldn't have expected the guy from Black Sabbath to come out with a first solo album like this.
Yeah.
So that's his first. Let me.
And while Jason's grabbing his second, Ozzy had dyslexia and was bullied in school.
Was he? Well, I think I'd heard that before too. So I wonder how that, like, I mean, you think about it, Birmingham, England.
Very blue collar.
Very blue collar industrial town. I've heard all of those guys in Sabbath talk about, most people just basically got the same jobs that their parents did. So the idea of becoming a rock star and making
was not on anybody's radar.
Making a living out of playing music was definitely not something that any of them expected. But here we are, devoting an entire show to those guys and Ozzy. This is Diary of a Madman, which is his second record.
And this is the image of Ozzy that everybody thinks of.
Yeah, just kind of like a werewolf, and
he's just out there.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know if is that a marmot or a rat on the. I've never really studied the cover of this that much, but yeah, that's what people think of when they think of Oz. Just and then on the back, you've got him in his white, fringy, winged outfit. This album, I love this album because this is kind of, you really felt that Randy Rhoads was like getting a foothold on not just being the performer that he was, but the musician and the writer. He was classically trained. He and his mom ran a place in Los Angeles that was like a place where kids could go and learn to be musicians. And a lot of people have come up through that school. And so this was kind of ironically where Randy got to spread his wings. And the songs on here: Over the Mountain, Flying High Again, You Can't Kill Rock and Roll, Believer, Little Dolls, Tonight, SATO, Diary of a Madman. And Diary of a Madman is an epic song with a really, almost starts out with like a classical music intro, and it's just another iteration. It kind of gave you a glimpse into maybe what was coming and what was not to be. As we know, Randy died in a plane crash on this tour, in the middle of the tour. And the crazy thing is, they decided to go on with the tour. And I can't even imagine that. In today's world, if something like that were to happen, there is no way somebody as high profile as he was would continue.
And such an up-and-coming guitar protege.
Yeah.
It would have been, we're stopping.
Yeah. But, that was not to be. And there was another guitarist. I think they took like 2 weeks off, maybe 3, and brought another guitarist in, and he played a couple dates and it didn't work out well. So from the band Night Ranger, there was a guitarist named Brad Gillis, and he got the call to audition to come in, and I just listened to an interview with him a couple of days ago, and when he got the call, Night Ranger had really not like popped, and they were, I think, recording their first album. I think he was recording guitar for another band at the time, and he got this call to take over for Randy Rhoads. And he apparently, after he agreed to do it, he got the board tapes of the shows that they had recorded Randy playing on, so he could hear direct, what he needed to learn. And I guess he had like 4 days to learn the set list and play this stuff. So Brad Gillis is really a hero in Ozzy's career. That's why I was really surprised that he wasn't part of the Back to the Beginning thing, because if it weren't for Brad Gillis from Night Ranger, we may not be talking about Ozzy today. And the other thing is, Speak of the Devil was the live album that they put out for this tour, and Brad plays on that. So it's crazy. That's also an amazing thing for someone who's it's not even on their radar. And then, hey, I need you to do this. We all know how that feels when, you're kind of put on the spot.
Put in a spot, and you gotta figure stuff out very quickly.
Yeah, but I just can't imagine like going and playing for, thousands and thousands of people with that news and that kind of loss, and playing on a tour like that. I can't even imagine it. But yeah, Diary of a Madman I probably enjoy it more than Blizzard of Oz. But, again, against all odds, here's Ozzy just putting out some incredible music. So that's his second one. Unfortunately, I don't have his third record. They did the live album, Speak of the Devil, and then Ozzy set forth to find a new guitarist, and it was Jake E. Lee. And Bark at the Moon was actually his third record. I don't have that. This is The Ultimate Sin, which is his fourth studio record, and actually another one that's just really hard to find.
Yeah,
I got this 5 or 6 years ago, and I think I paid $40 for it.
Yeah, you don't see this record ever at shows in the wild.
And the crazy thing about, I think Dana Strum may have also had something to do with bringing Jake E. Lee to Sharon and Ozzy, because Jake E. Lee, in the early days of Rat, another big 80s band, Jake E. Lee was one of the original guitarists for that band. And so I think, don't quote me, but I think Dana Strum also had ties to Jake, and he's the one that introduced Sharon and Ozzy to Jake. So more useless knowledge up here. But the thing to remember about Bark at the Moon was that was really the first record after Randy was gone. Yeah. So those shoes for Jake E. Lee to fill were huge. And Bark at the Moon came out, and it was also a huge hit. So, 3 albums in a row, here's Ozzy completely going against the odds and coming up with something that is really, really good.
It's timeless, yeah.
Yeah. So in lieu of talking about Bark at the Moon, which, like I said earlier in the show, before the Back to the Beginning thing, I went looking for some Ozzy records, and I'm like, I need Bark at the Moon. And I just can't find it anywhere. I don't see it in record stores. I haven't seen it at a lot of record shows. And it wasn't available on Amazon. But like you said, I'm sure that'll change soon. So fast forward to 1986, I think, is when Ultimate Sin came out. The crazy thing is, the big single off of this is Shot in the Dark, which is, I love the song. It's a great song. But when you think about it, his career, he was kind of a metal dude, right?
Yeah.
Kind of a heavy metal, hard rock guy. And when Shot in the Dark came out for this, he's in the video, he's all glammed up, his hair's all teased up. He's wearing like a white sequined gown. And it's very much kind of a softening of the image.
Yeah.
But that song was such a hit that Ozzy made that leap from heavy metal superstar to pop star, really. I mean, it became a huge hit. And Phil Suzanne, who was his bassist on this tour, is the guy that wrote that song. So he has Phil Suzanne to thank for like his introduction, like you mentioned, like the reality TV show kind of brought him to a new audience, but this album and that song really brought him to a new audience because it was a crossover hit. It wasn't just like a hit for the metal.
Yeah,
charts.
and maybe one of Ozzy's best talents was finding talent.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
He surrounded himself with really, really good people.
Absolutely. And I think that was Sharon
Yes.
as much as anything, because she knew he needed that direction and that guidance and that,
Yeah, to keep him from drifting.
Yeah, which, it worked to a degree or not to a degree. But I've always loved this image on the back too. I mean, it's like Ozzy is a dragon here. This woman haunts your dreams if you stare into her eyes. She's like some like Neo Medusa or something. But I've always loved the artwork that they use. It's very distinct, very much. I mean, like the logo with his name.
Yeah, his logo is very memorable.
It's always you see it, and I mean it's immediately recognizable, even though it changes, kind of morphs between releases, but it looks metal.
Yes.
So that's cool. Yeah, Ultimate Sin. I love this record too. I mean, it's Lightning Strikes, Killer of Giants, Thank God for the Bomb, Never, Shot in the Dark, Ultimate Sin, Secret Loser, Never Know Why, and Fool Like You. Yeah, and also let's not forget to mention Randy Castillo came in at this time too to play drums, and he was a tremendous musician too. Like you said, surrounding yourself with really, really good musicians and good people, obviously.
Yeah, and the fact that they would have auditions for all these people.
Yeah.
I don't know that every band does that, but
yeah,
he did.
Just to be asked to play for them has got to be pretty cool. I've also heard accounts of with Randy Rhoads and with Jake and with Zakk Wylde later, and Joe Holmes and all these different guys that have played guitar with him. Sharon and Ozzy have basically welcomed these people into their family.
Yeah.
And so it's obviously there's an emphasis on their part as being a pretty tight-knit group.
You got to be a good fit for the group.
Yeah, and you got to respect that too, because no matter how much you try to separate your performing life with your personal life, those two things are gonna.
Yeah, you're intertwined because you're going to be together a bunch.
Yeah. So against the odds again, here comes a new guitarist with Ozzy, and I believe this is Bark at the Moon and Ultimate Sin are the only two records that Jake played on. And then Ozzy moves on to another guitarist who is Zakk Wylde, which the only Zakk Wylde album I have of Ozzy's is No More Tears. And this, talk about another like breakout album. This came available. They repressed this like maybe 4 or 5 years ago, and it was a big deal. I pre-ordered it, and the other funny thing about Ozzy's records is that and Black Sabbath is they're pretty valuable.
Yeah,
and
there's for some of them, there's a lot of them out there.
Yeah, but the crazy thing about that to me is, like you said, there's so many of them, but people obviously keep them.
Yeah, I think that's the difference. People are when you're in the Ozzy universe, you're not punting these records very often.
I mean, I think I read that I think it's, maybe I'll look it up real quick because I don't want to get it wrong.
Well, let's see. Ozzy spent 6 weeks in prison for robbing a clothing store.
Is this in the Sabbath days?
Before Sabbath.
Before Sabbath?
Yeah.
Really? Well, that doesn't surprise me at all.
No.
Let's open this gatefold and just take a look. Yeah, there's a couple images of the Ozman right there. Got the crucifix and the danglies on there. So Zakk Wylde comes in. I believe the album that he comes in on is No Rest for the Wicked. There was Miracle Man was, I think, a big song off that. And again, just he was, I think Zack's real name is Jeff Weiland, and he's from New Jersey. And so he was in the New Jersey scene, New Jersey, New York scene, and somehow Ozzy, finally got wind of Zakk. And at the time, I think he was only 20 or 21. So if you can imagine being kind of a prodigy and, going from being a regional dude to like an international superstar kind of guy, that's
a big jump.
That'd be a crazy jump. But the difference between Jake and Zakk was that Zakk is a Randy Rhoads guy. So he, younger and kind of grew up loving Randy and worshiping that kind of music and stuff. So, that's a different taking off point than from someone else who's coming in and kind of at odds with that legacy. Zakk obviously fully embraced it and was moving forward with that in mind. And so, so his interpretation of playing that stuff is probably a little different than like Jake's, who might not have been the biggest Randy guy. So, you can imagine like being a 21-year-old guy and your boss is now Ozzy Osbourne.
Yeah.
But moving through those first couple of records and then getting to No More Tears, this came out, I think this was 91, 92. And I remember when it came out, it was just all over the charts. I mean, you couldn't go anywhere and not hear stuff from this record, whether it was No More Tears, Mama, I'm Coming Home. Man, why do they print this stuff so small? Hellraiser, Time After Time, Zombie Stomp, AVH, Road to Nowhere. Yeah. A lot of good, man, I just had a bug fly in my ear. A lot of good songs on this one. And this kind of put him on the map, in the 90s. And I think that had he not had such a huge hit with this, maybe things would have been a little different because, not many bands from the 80s transcended that break between that decade and the 90s. But Ozzy became bigger than ever at that time. And how that happened is because he was all over the radio and all over MTV with this album, which again, he led a pretty charmed life when you consider how stacked against him the odds were. The other thing to consider, and we can go forward in Ozzy's career here in a little bit and talk about that stuff, but we also have to talk about the controversies. Because as much as he's known for music, he's known for the crazy shit that he did on and off stage. So if you look it up, one of the big controversies is just everybody associating him with Satan. At the time that he became a solo artist in the 80s, you had a lot of this push back from people against heavy metal and hard rock music just because of the iconography.
Yeah,
and,
because everybody thought, oh, it's demonic.
Yeah, and the dark theme and the what they wore on stage, not necessarily the music, because if you listen to the music and look at the lyrics, it's they're not praising Satan, but everybody was looking for a scapegoat in the 80s. This music was coming to prominence with the help of people like Ozzy and Judas Priest and Iron Maiden, and all of these heavy metal groups were taking hard rock from what we knew in the 70s, like Zeppelin and even Iron Butterfly and bands like Blue Cheer and stuff. But in the late 70s, that new wave of British heavy metal came through, and people didn't know what to think about it, and kids were going to the concerts and buying the T-shirts, and everybody was just up in arms and thinking that Ozzy was worshiping the devil, which take a look at some of that stuff. It's not a ridiculous ridiculous thing to jump to. So that's the first big one. Then in 1981, Ozzy signed his first solo record deal with CBS record executives in LA. And he had planned to, I guess, release doves at this record signing. And long story short, he grabbed a dove and bit its head off and spit its head out. And then I guess these record executives were beside themselves, and they escorted him out of the building. There's a theme of biting heads off that began there and popped up other places in his career. In January of 1982, Ozzy bit the head off of a bat that he thought was a rubber bat while performing at the Veterans Memorial Auditorium in Des Moines, Iowa. I mean, if you're going to eat a bat,
you got to do it in Iowa.
You got to do it in Iowa. I hear they have the best. According to a 2004 Rolling Stone article, the bat was alive at the time. However, a 17-year-old Mark Neal, who threw it onto the stage, said it was brought to the show dead. According to Osbourne, in the booklet to the 2002 edition of Diary of a Madman, the bat was not only alive but managed to bite him, resulting in Ozzy being vaccinated against rabies. In January of 2019, Ozzy commemorated the 37th anniversary of the bat incident by offering an Ozzy plush bat toy with a detachable head for sale on his web store. So there's that ability to have a sense of humor and kind of poke fun at yourself. Then we get into this stuff with people misinterpreting words and lyrics. In 1983, a Canadian teenager killed a woman and her two sons in Halifax, Nova Scotia after listening to Bark at the Moon. A friend of this guy said that Jimmy said every time he listened to the song, he felt strange inside. And he said when he heard it on New Year's Eve, he went out and stabbed someone. In 1984, a teenager from California committed suicide while listening to Osbourne's Suicide Solution, which we know, Suicide Solution, alcohol. Ozzy's singing about how alcohol can destroy your life.
Yes.
But obviously that can be misinterpreted
many ways.
Like I said, it deals with the dangers of alcohol abuse. And then, this kid's parents sued Ozzy for their son's death, saying the lyrics in the song, where to hide, suicide is the only way out, don't you know what it's really about, convinced McCollum to commit suicide.
Later dismissed by the courts.
Yeah, the court ruled in his favor, saying there was no connection between the song and his suicide. Osbourne was similarly sued in 1991 by the parents of someone else for $9 million, but again, they ruled in Ozzy's favor. then we get into lawsuits between Bob Daisley, Lee Kerslake, and Phil Suzanne suing Ozzy and Sharon for not basically being delinquent in paying for writing. Like I said, Daisley wrote most of his lyrics up till this album. Phil Suzanne wrote Shot in the Dark. Lee Kerslake was also a collaborator and the original drummer on the first record. There's plenty of things like that, and there's going to be.
Yeah. When you're that big,
Yeah.
there's going to be lawsuits.
Yeah, like with Jake E. Lee, there was also the delinquent payment stuff. He claimed that he wrote a lot of Bark at the Moon, a lot of that material, and it's funny because he was at the Back to the Beginning thing and performed a couple songs, and I just saw since Ozzy passed away, Ozzy. And Jake and Sharon and Ozzy have kind of been at odds for years. When there's money involved, there's always going to be
there's always issues,
that kind of thing. But I guess Ozzy, after that show, sent Jake a really nice text trying to kind of mend fences and saying, when I get back to LA, we should spend some time together. And so that's good that Jake kind of gets that closure from that. The thing with Ozzy is that just when you kind of count him out, he comes back. So,
yeah.
This album came out, blew up. I saw him on this tour in 1992. It was the No More Tours tour because that was supposed to be his final tour. But what Ozzy had in store was bringing festivals back to the United States because
the Ozfest.
You'd had Lollapalooza, you'd had what was the one that the women put together?
Lilith Fair.
Lilith Fair, and Lollapalooza still exists, but it's a one time a year.
Yeah.
It used to travel around,
and it came about because of Reading, the Reading Music Festival in England.
Yeah. For a long time, before the 90s, people always complained that festivals, they had them in England all the time or in Europe, but never really had one in the U.S. Well, Lilith Fair and Lollapalooza. And then, after Ozzy says he's going to stop touring, what does he do? He establishes like a heavy metal festival himself. And this thing went on for years and introduced a lot of bands to a lot of people. So once again, Ozzy's breaking new ground against all odds. And I saw Ozzy on the Ozfest when Sabbath reunited. I think that was 98. And I saw him on another Ozfest. So I think I only got to see Ozzy 3 times. Once on this tour and then 2 times, maybe 3 times on Ozfest, so maybe 4. I'll never forget it. One of the years Ozfest had Judas Priest co-headlining with Ozzy, and man, they put on a hell of a show. It was really, really great. But not only do we have Ozzy to thank for all of these great musicians, all of this great music, we've got him to thank for basically reestablishing the idea of a festival in the U.S. And then, not long after, we have Ozzy to thank for being in the Osbournes. Like, they were like one of the first families of reality TV.
Yeah.
And at the time when you would watch that show, I didn't watch it all the time. It was entertaining. But as being people that work in TV and reality TV, a lot of it isn't real.
Yeah.
Most of it's not real. Very produced. And they were characters in this television show. But again, for the world to have that peek behind the curtain and see the home life of a person like this is really crazy. I think that was you. What did you think of the Osbournes when that whole thing was happening?
It was interesting. I mean, it's like it's almost a blueprint.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they were before most of those, but yes, a blueprint for that kind of show. It'd be interesting to go back and watch that because Ozzy had 6 kids. I think he had 3 kids with his first wife and had 3 with Sharon. So we know Jack, we know Kelly. His third kid with Sharon is Amy, who, when that Osbourne's thing popped, she didn't want to be involved.
Oh, she didn't want to be involved.
So she kind of stayed out of it, which is an interesting choice. But hey, you got to respect that. I don't know that I'd want people like us hanging out in every corner of my house for
just
hours and hours.
Peeking around the corner. What are you doing?
But no, so I mean, breaking ground in in a type of television that really had not been seen before then. I mean, it's easy to forget all of the ways that Ozzy and Sharon and all of the people involved made their names and changed the world. But I mean, it's true. I mean, it's easy to underestimate the mark that somebody like Ozzy made. But you start reading and looking into it, it really is a huge loss, not just for not for the music world, for the entertainment world, all over. And he wasn't just a musician. I mean, he has reached that echelon of being a household name.
Yeah. He was the ultimate frontman.
Yeah. Yeah. And, it's sad to see him go, but what an exit, right?
Yeah.
Like the show, playing with the original Sabbath, playing like 5 of his original solo songs, and then that whole concert was like 10 hours
loaded.
Long. Yeah, and just loaded with rock, hard rock, and metal bands from top to bottom, and it went out with one last festival, and I think I saw that that show raised like $190 million for Parkinson's research.
That's incredible.
Yeah. So there's not much else you can expect from a superstar.
Right.
Right. It's been fun looking back on the career of Ozzy. I don't think we've done this before. We've never done an entire show in tribute to somebody. Oh, that's another thing I wanted to mention is that Ozzy tribute record. When I and friend of the show Bill saw Whitesnake back in the day, and you hear this in the Rudy Sarzo episode, which is number 15. Go back and listen; it's great. When Whitesnake was in town, I think in 1990, Tommy Aldridge and Rudy were both in Whitesnake, and they did an in-store signing at IRC Music. And Bill and I went. I took pictures, and I think I've shared those before. But the people in line in front of us had that Ozzy Randy tribute record, and both Randy and Tommy were on that tour. So they handed it to him, and they wanted him to sign it. But you could see Tommy and Rudy really like going back and thinking about those days on tour with Randy and Ozzy. So that was a cool little thing for me to experience. Yeah. I won't share. I'll try not to share I guess I have to share the picture of me and my terrible mullet.
It's a good look.
But Ozzy is a worthy subject for an entire show because I feel like his stamp on the world of rock and roll is indelible. I mean, it's there and it'll be there forever. And did we say how many records he sold? Like 100 million worldwide, and
a metric shit ton.
Yeah, which we know what the conversion rate is there. But we want to thank all of you guys for tuning in. We want to hear from you. We want you to go to those socials. We want you to go to our Fourth Wall site and check out all of the behind the scenes stuff that you can either donate to the show or you can join Fourth Wall for free. We also want to remind you that in the description, we're going to have links to albums that we talk about in shows that you can go and buy on Amazon, and we get a little something from them when you guys do that. What else do we want to tell people to do, Wheels?
As always, like, subscribe, and share.
And comment. And just keep digging into that record collection. And one more thing is, as you comment, tell us what you want us to talk about. And tell us the top 5s you want us to do, and maybe even subjects for 3 things you didn't know. We don't talk about the 3 things on here very often, but those are always fun, little bits of trivia from different bands and different genres that we do that usually release on Fridays. So we just want to thank you all for tuning in. Thanks for being a part of this vinyl community, and we will see you all the next time around.
It's a final adventure.